Hi, everyone. Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. I realize I don't think I've ever devoted a video to this topic, but it's near and dear to my heart because as someone who has been doing tarot for a little while now, I've seen some things, I've experienced some things, I've experienced gatekeeping against me, and perhaps maybe I did a little gatekeeping towards someone else. And I thought this would be a great time for us to talk about it. So we're talking today about gatekeeping in the tarot community. And what got me on this tangent or thinking about this even is that recently I have seen a couple of different bigger tarot tubers, and they were, musing or talking about the way people shuffle or how people do readings on TikTok. And, I have probably been a little guilty myself of saying, oh, readings on TikTok, blah, blah, blah. But I had to check myself on that because it's like, I don't want nobody judging me on how I shuffle my cards, on how I interpret my card meanings, or what I decide to read on, or who I read the cards for, or what I read them about, all that stuff. I don't really want people judging me, and I don't want to really judge others. So I had to check myself with that because there is this air of superiority that goes on between YouTube and TikTok, but I had to take a step back and reflect on that, and I'm glad I did because now I feel even more evolved in this discussion here. And I want to hear from you in the comments section. I definitely want to keep the conversation going when this video wraps in the comments section because I think it's a worthwhile dialogue we need to have. I was watching a tarot tuber, a larger channel, more established, been around a long time, totally respect her, but she was venting about folks, how they shuffle and people on TikTok, readers on TikTok. And then what I found most interesting, I mean, not so much her take on it, but then the comment section down below her video, what people were saying, like, oh, um, I even felt like, oh, they talking about me. They were talking about people who use jumpers. That's not a real way to select cards. It's very showy, and that's not real tarot reading. Then there was people saying, those TikTok readers, probably rolling of the eyes, and it was just a lot of catty judgment. And then I became quickly grateful for the community that I have over here on my channel. We're very supportive and inclusive over here. And I don't know, I just love the vibe that my subscribership offers. Like, we really are supportive and inclusive. Every now and then somebody gets on a tangent, but for the most part, we are so cool over here. And so I guess I was in a bubble. But when you go out in other people's like little comment sections, you're like, oh my God. So it got me to thinking. And so I made up a slideshow presentation for you today for this video. You know me, I like to stay on track. And I also, while I had some downtime and I was a little bored, I used AI. I said, what is gatekeeping in the tarot community? And I put that as a prompt in AI off of like a Google Doc, because now with Google Docs, you can click the little thing and ask AI something. And I'm going to share with you what AI had to say, and I'm curious to hear from you what you think about what AI had to say about us, about gatekeeping in the tarot community. And I'm saying us because we are a community, whether we really engage in gatekeeping or not. I'm sure we've witnessed it before, and I'm sure it had us feeling a way, or maybe we did it, or we're the offender or the offended. So we're all a community, so we need to talk about it. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So I did not prepare myself. And I'm not editing this video. This is just going to be a one and doneer because I have a reading to do after this, and I'm trying to get to some Netflix and then chilling. after this, after that reading. So let's go to Google Slides. Gatekeeping in Tarot. Let's go. All right, let's go. But I had to give y'all a little intro first, you know. All right, so gatekeeping in the Tarot community per artificial intelligence. Bear that in mind. So let me show you what we're talking about here. Gatekeeping in Tarot refers to the practice of withholding esoteric knowledge or spiritual insights from others, often under the guise of protecting the sacredness of the practice or ensuring that it is only accessible to those who are worthy or ready. It can manifest in various ways, such as elitism, believing that only certain individuals are capable of understanding or interpreting tarot cards, and therefore restricting access to those who are deemed worthy or advanced enough. Have y'all seen that before? Have you seen that dynamic before? Exclusivity, creating a sense of exclusivity by using obscure terminology or symbolism, making it difficult for beginners or outsiders to comprehend the meanings of tarot cards. Now, don't get me wrong, y'all. Don't get me wrong. This is not to say we dumb down tarot. No, 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 no. And that's my little, in the parentheses, that's me right here. That right there, me. I don't want us to dumb it down. I still think that it is very important that we go into symbolism. We study the key meanings. We cast our net wide with all of the knowledge that we want to scoop up and bring back to ourselves so we can give the most beautiful, robust, and in touch, tapped in readings. That's important. And yeah, if you're a student of tarot, then you know it's a lifelong learning of all sorts of esoteric meanings and exploring all these different ways of interpreting the cards. And it's just glorious, all that you can learn. But I never wanted to be exclusive to one group of people. I want it to be available and accessible for those who want to work with tarot and use it and have it be a part of their spiritual practice. Secrecy, withholding information or techniques from others, claiming that it is secret or forbidden knowledge that should not be shared with the general public. Like, tarot is not a closed tradition. And so if some people would be like, oh, this is like the secrets, and there is the mystery schools, if you study that line of thinking, and I did for a while, but really and truly, we don't want it to be secret. We don't want it to be forbidden knowledge, or only a certain few can have access and have the ability to interpret the cards. No. Okay. Condescension. I had to practice this word. So being condescending, basically. Dismissing or belittling those who are new to tarot or who have different interpretations, implying that their understanding is inferior or incomplete. And being condescending, like, oh, there you go again. Not everything with the Three of Swords is heartbreak, and there's other meanings. It's just so the condescending tone to it. You could say, did you know that the Three of Swords has this meaning and this meaning? I was blown away when I found that out. Did you know that? Or was I the only one who didn't know that? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's just a different energy of approaching it, like, hey, did you know this? I didn't know this. Or I just learned this. Or, oh, I see you got that interpretation. Here's my interpretation. Here's my take on it. I hear it, your take is valid. If there's a way of being respectful and understanding of where someone else is coming from with their interpretation and bringing forth your interpretation, both are accurate in my opinion, right? But it just sometimes I see that little tit for tat in the comment sections or on Facebook groups, and I'm like, really? You could step off your soapbox now. Go step off of that. Mystification, intentionally complicating the Tarot teachings and practices, making them appear more mysterious or complex than they actually are. I really liked AI for coming up with this one. I was like, always making it super mystifying, like, oh, it's this and that, and we're going here and there. And it's like, I do readings for other people. I read professionally. That is what I do. And I knew very early on in my tarot reading journey that I wanted to read for other people. Like some people know that they just want to do it for introspection, and that's so beautiful. And I love that. And I have friends who only do tarot for themselves. And then there's some of us like myself that want to read for others. If I'm making it so mystifying that my querent, my client can't understand it, then who is it really serving? Or is it just my ego that's being stroked because I know all these mystical meanings and woo-woo this and all of that? Like, who is it serving? Is it serving the querent who came to you with, probably a routine type of question that querents and clients come to us for? And then here you bust out with all this mysticism. Or when you're teaching other people, maybe you have a channel or maybe you have an Instagram and you're teaching people about tarot and you're going in all these different mystical directions and only a select few would really be able to understand. Is that the aim that you were going for? If that is, great, you succeeded. But if not, I don't know. I know my audience and I know my clientele and I know what they need and want. So just bear that in mind. If you're doing it for yourself, be as mystical as you want. If you're teaching others and mentoring other people in learning the tarot and learning how to read the cards, just bear that in mind. Like, what are you doing? What's the end goal here? For them to relate and understand or not? Love this last part with the AI interpretation. Gatekeeping in tarot can be harmful because it creates a culture of elitism and exclusion, discourages open discussion and exploration, and hinders the growth and evolution of the tarot community. It is important to foster an inclusive and welcoming environment where individuals can learn, share, and grow together without fear of judgment or criticism, right? Yes, yes. One of my mottos on my website and just in life is learn and grow in tarot. And I would put together. And together means you feel safe with me. You feel safe in my community, whether you're in the Abundant Life Tarot Facebook group, or you're part of my membership, Poised to Leap, or you're here on my channel at Abundant Life Tarot, or anywhere where I dwell. I want my peeps to feel safe to be them and to share openly, respectfully, but openly. And to feel, so they know they will be feeling heard, they will be heard, and they will have the room to grow in their understanding of interpreting the cards. That's my aim. So, speaking of my aim, let's get to it. My take on gatekeeping in the tarot community. There will always be someone acting like they are the ones who get it, right? So there will always be the ones who get how to work with tarot. There's always gonna be some know-it-alls. You remember in school, elementary school, primary school, whatever they call it, even high school, secondary school, whatever. There's always a know-it-all or two. Always they get it. Okay, we let you have that. But the rest of us, we got each other's back and we understand that that's not everybody's truth. We all can get it. If you want to learn tarot, and you want to really understand it and you have a thirst for it, you too can learn. Even when you're frustrated, when you're new and you're like, am I ever going to learn this? Yes. If you are persistent and consistent, you will learn. This inevitably, so let me circle back. There will always be someone acting like they are the ones who get how to work with tarot. This inevitably means that in order for them to get tarot, others cannot or do not get it. It's like, I have it, you don't. You can't have it. How could you have it? Look at you. And we're all guilty of it. Like we might see someone who's really, really, really young and they've probably got a huge following, perhaps on TikTok, let's just say, maybe on YouTube, but who knows, or Instagram. And we're like, what do they know about living? Raise your hand if you've ever thought about, even if it's not related to tarot, but you see somebody who's really, really young and you're like, what do you know? We all have done that. And innately, that's in us. And it is a form of gatekeeping if we allow it to go in that direction. Like, well, no, we can't take you seriously. We're not going to invite you to speak at our next tarot workshop or conference because what do you know? You don't know anything. You don't have any life experience. Did you even study the cards? How could you? You're only 20 years old, let's just say. Well, what we don't know is maybe this person who, when they were a child, had been studying tarot since they could read because their mom was really into it. Maybe they're an old soul. Maybe they've been through some things. You've known some people who've been through some things. By the time they're 20, and you're like, oh, you done lived. So we have to be careful about judgments. I'm guilty of it. Trust and believe. I am 44. Yes, 44. Of course, I'm guilty of it by this point, but I try to be conscious to work on it. I try. I do. I see a lot of seasoned readers having a lot to say about how someone shuffles their decks. Clearly, I was in my feelings, but it's true. It's like I do use jumpers always from very early on when I was working with cards and cartomancy. It just was like every other style or way that I tried to get cards, whether you shuffle and you pick one from the top or the bottom or whatever you do, or you shuffle, swish them around on the table. None of that worked for me. It felt like something unlocked with me when I accepted jumpers into my reading practice. And it just became something that just consistently stayed with me. And others who work with jumpers express the same thing. Imagine I won't say horror, but it was kind of like, oh, you talk about me? When I see in the comment section, people are like, that's not really that's not really reading the cards. You pounding away until you get a card that flies out. Who are you to say that? Seriously, who are you to say how someone else shuffles their cards? Oh, they're hurting their cards. These are pieces of paper. Yes, I do believe I can have a connection with my cards, right? We all probably can feel that way. But at the end of the day, they're like little pieces of paper or like cardboard. And many of us probably can replace a deck. If we need to get down and dirty with our decks, then we're going to get down and dirty with them. We're going to shuffle them. We're going to use them daily. We're going to work with them. They're going to work with us. Or some people might be gentle and maybe their wrists can't allow for them to do a lot of ripple shuffling and overhand shuffling. And so are we going to judge them? No, no, we shouldn't. I don't think. So, it was so interesting to me. It was like, really? That's how you guys feel when you see me shuffling my cards. Do tell. Do tell. But I don't I'm like, oh, I'm actually fascinated by all the different myriad of ways that people can shuffle and choose and select their cards. And then hear their process of how they arrive to that practice. I find it fascinating. But some people are so annoyed and so bothered by it, but they had to leave a comment on it. It's like, okay, I see you. But, just like people can call me out on stuff, I'm going to call some of us out on certain things and certain behaviors. I see a lot of seasoned readers passing judgments on how or what people read on. What I mean by that, how do you read the cards? Are you 100% of an intuitive reader, not really leaning much into book meanings? Are you someone who reads on the hotlines or not? Are you someone who only does spiritual type readings? You will never do love readings, never do career readings. It's too mundane for you. These are all pretty much personal taste, by the way, which is perfectly fine. That's what's so great about this, is that every one of us can do the type of readings we want to do, attract the type of people, if we work with others, to us that align with our reading style and preferences. And it's magic when that happens. But to judge other people for what they decide to read on, what topics they read on, like some people judge people who do celebrity tarot readings. Some people judge me for doing true crime readings. Some people judge those for doing, third party readings or readings on people who are having extramarital affairs. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. But I'm like, life is too precious and too short to be sitting up here passing judgment on my fellow readers on what they decide to read on or how they decide to read the cards. I see a lot of elitism in the tarot community, especially surrounding those who work on the hotlines or offering readings on social media. What I mean by offering readings on social media, maybe you do lives and you're offering readings that way. Maybe you are doing, pick a pile, or you're doing readings for the collective. Some people have a problem with that. You shouldn't do that. That's wrong. You shouldn't. Hotlines are only for people who are charlatans and who, no, I know some highly talented, highly successful tarot readers who work on the hotlines. And they are there because they have a proven track record. Otherwise, they'd be fired. You can trust and believe that. Don't think that hotlines don't fire. And they do. So be careful who you're judging and where you're judging. I see some of that stuff going on in the private Facebook groups to like the tarot community. I'm like, wow, how do you think you're making your fellow tarot reader feel? I guess you don't care. But I think that if the shoe was reversed, you would care if somebody was persecuting you. Oh, come on. So, and that's what I'm saying. It runs the gamut, but it has the same vibe: to minimize others in order for others to feel superior. That's it. There's something about human beings, humanity. We like to do that to each other, but we're bigger than that. I'd like to think we're more evolved than that. Maybe, maybe not. You tell me. Oh, look at her, my homegirl, Pamela Coleman Smith. Someone who, at face value, you'll be like, oh, you're going to create the art for the most iconic deck system, the most iconic tarot system. You, Pam, you're going to do it. Imagine if someone gate kept Pamela Coleman Smith out. Where will we be? I shudder to think, where would we be? So that's why I put her picture right on up here. That's why I put the Hierophant on the previous slide. Like, what y'all trying to be? Gatekeepers? My golden rule: do not harm and read with the highest of intentions. You do that, I think you'll be all right. Do no harm. Read with the highest of intentions. Everything else is your personal reading style, which is developed over time, and it's your reading style. So if you each have your own reading style, naturally the next person who's your neighbor has their own too. We all can coexist, right? I will never judge another reader on how they shuffle their decks or how they read their cards. No. I will never judge another reader on how they deliver their readings. I will never judge another reader on their level of skill before deciding to read for others. Some people are like, you can't, you have to at least have read for yourself and, for 5 years, 10 years. No. If you feel the calling, lean into that and begin to train and study on your tarot practice with the understanding that you plan to read for others, and start earlier than later if you recognize that inside of yourself. I think I suffered a little bit because I resisted that. But early on, I knew I wanted to read for others. You just intuitively know. So that's a bit of advice I would give to people, you know? There was one time I did judge. I did judge a young lady on TikTok, and it had to do with a mystery mystic type of reading. It was a very tragic case out of Idaho. Many of you know that case. And this lady said some things and did some things that landed her with a defamation suit by a professor from the University of Idaho. And the lady, the tarot reader, just doubled down. And I just didn't like that because of the legal ramifications for herself. And also, it's like what's happening to her. Everybody who's not in tarot or not doesn't understand cartomancy or any of that, now they're going to lump us all together with true crime tarot readers who like to defame innocent people. I didn't like that. And so I will call out certain things, but that is because I'm like, oh, that's really harmful for our community. And it's harmful for her. It's what's harmful for the person, the tarot reader who's being sued, of course. And I don't want that for her. But that I was worried. I was worried. I was like, oh God, they're gonna think we're all like that. Did I judge necessarily by her interpretation of the cards? To myself, I quietly was like, ooh, I don't know if I would have interpreted that way. But I didn't go into interpretations. I just focused on that behavior that I'm like, you're doubling down on erroneous information, and I don't know where you got that from. And everybody else is not picking up what you what you driving. No, I don't know what's going on over there, but if you know what I'm talking about. If you follow tarot true crime in both the YouTube and TikTok worlds, there's a lady, I forgot her name, but I did have something to say back when, because I was like, girl, you're making us all look bad. Okay. It is not my place to judge, but to guide as a tarot mentor. In my small tarot community, my community I talked about earlier, we encourage and support one another, period. No matter where you land and how you end up working with me, close one-on-one, in our YouTube subscriber community, in the Poised to Lead membership community, the Facebook groups, wherever you are, y'all know I am very much all about encouraging one another and support. And we learn whether you have 30 years of experience or you have 1 year, doesn't matter. We encourage and support one another. You will never go wrong in paying attention to your own reading style and being supportive of other readers. You will never go wrong with that. You'll never look bad. And yeah, sometimes you have to sometimes say some things when you see some questionable stuff, but there's still a way of doing it from love. It's like, a family, you still can approach it with love. I like to think of us as a family. Some people are like, we are not a family. And I get that opinion too, but that's how I choose to look at us in the tarot community, as a family. So that's it, friends. That's my little slideshow presentation with AI. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below on what did AI have to say about gatekeeping in the tarot community. and just some thoughts on what I've had to say. I'm curious to hear from you. Have you witnessed this phenomenon before? If you did, what did you do? Did you say anything? And no judgment if you didn't, or if you did. Have you been the offender or the offended when it comes to gatekeeping in Terrell? I want to hear from you. And there will be no judging from me, okay? There will not. And like I kept it real with you. Like sometimes when I hear like, oh, look at that, or I see like a tarot reader who's 20 years old. And I'm like, what could you possibly have known? I probably went through 20 heartbreaks for your years of life. But we don't know their story and we shouldn't judge. And some of us really do have old souls. So let me know. When did you do the offending and when were you the offended? And, you know, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about the AI, like what AI had to say. I'm so curious, y'all. All right, friends, that's it for now. Do me a favor on your way out. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's it. Take good care of yourselves. I will see you all around. Be nice, be cool with one another, love on one another, and see you all. Bye for now.